Welcome to my PowerPoint about terrible legendaries. Let's start with Death Knight and Dr. Stitchin' Sue. It is a 6 mana, 6/4 undead from Whizbang's Workshop with Battlecry. Discover a 5, 3, and 1 cost minion to stitch to this. Death Rattle, summon the 5 cost minion. Then the 5 cost minion will have Death Rattle, summon the 3, 3 the 1. Stitchin' Stew is a really weird card because on paper, it's obviously bad, right? For today's era of Hearthstone, this card is pretty terrible, but if Death Knight had always existed in Hearthstone and this came out in like 2017, 2018, 2019, even 2020 era Hearthstone, this probably would have been a good card. But we're in 2024, where a card that's just a big pile of repeating stats is really bad. The reason I said 2020 era Hearthstone is because we had Rattlegore. Of course, Rattlegore was significantly larger than Dr. Stitchin' Stew, and in Warrior, not Death Knight, but it's not fair to say that a big bundle of stats that is ultra sticky on board like Dr. Stitchin' Stew wouldn't have been, like, maybe not as good as Rattlegore, do not get me wrong, but still playable, right? It gives you 4 corpses guaranteed, which of course Death Knight loves to use. It's weird, right? When you look at this card and you think, wow, they printed this in 2024 and actually expected it to see play. Even if this came out in like March of the Lich King, 2022, it probably would have been okay. At least better than it is now, to say the least. Dr. Stitchin' Sue is just not good. I struggle to even take this card when it's offered to me off of Discover effects and Standard. That's how bad this card is. It's just so expensive. It doesn't do anything on board. It's just not good, man. Like, what is there to do? It's not even fun to play with. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, oh wow, you got a random 5, 3, and 1 from the Death Rattle. Okay, well, okay, like, okay, it's not that great. You can technically use Death Growl on it to, like, push the Death Rattle onto other minions, but even that's not very good. I'm gonna be honest with you. Dr. Stitchin' Stew is just so bad. It's just so bad. Then we have Demon Hunter. So, in the same vein of a kind of value-oriented card that's just unplayable, we have Snake Eyes. 3 mana, 2/4 Naga, with Battlecry, roll 2 dice, then discover 2 cards of those costs. Doubles, get an extra discover. So it will, like, actually roll 2 dice on screen, and then it'll give you options to discover cards from 1 to 6, and then if you hit, like, 2 1s, 2 2s, etc., all the way up, you get an extra discover. This card came out last year in Showdown in the Badlands. This card. Can you use your brain for a second? I want to paint you a picture. We're playing Hearthstone in the Lord's year of 2024. What card also came out in Showdown in the Badlands? If you answered Reno Lone Ranger, you'd be correct. If you answered Blind Eye Sharpshooter, you would be correct. Those are power levels of cards from Showdown in the Badlands. Same with, like, the dragons from Druid. That's the power level of Showdown in the Badlands. This Snake Eyes card is, like, genuinely a fucking 2017 power level card. I wish I was joking. This card would have been, like, really good in 2017. And it was printed in 2023. I don't know what better... I don't know a better way to describe this card. It's a Naga, so people tried to experiment with it in Naga Demon Hunter. Obviously, it was terrible, right? But it's just so inconsistent. It doesn't even give you that great of cards on average. Like, dude, the pool is every single card that costs between 1 and 6 that Demon Hunter or Neutral has. That's the pool of Snake Eyes. What an awful, terrible pool. I don't know. Like, this is kind of an issue that Blizzard has recently, is that they keep printing cards that would have probably been good 8 years ago, but it's not 8 years ago. It's today. It's current year. And the game is not the same way that it was 7, 8 years ago because of rampant, out-of-control power creep that they put in the game. So yes, Snake Eyes is a cool card conceptually, but it's such a worthless, unplayable legendary that it's like, wow, why even put this in the game? It's not every card has to be good. I get that. Not every card has to be good. But every card has to at least do something that is worthwhile to run in your deck if you want people to actually like the card. And what does Snake Eyes do that's worthwhile? Give you fucking what are bad like cards? Like Midnight Wolf, that's a card that came out this expansion. Oh, if you get a 6 on your die, you can get Midnight Wolf. 6 mana, 6/6 beast with Rush and Outcast, summon a copy of it. Wow. It's, yeah. Oops. Then we have Druid. So, let me paint you a picture of Hearthstone past. You have Knights of the Frozen Throne and Kobolds and Catacombs back-to-back as two of some of the best expansions ever for Druid, and just ever, like, power level-wise for any class, right? So, you're Blizzard, you just fucked up and gave Druid, which is already a broken-ass class, always has been, two of its best expansions ever back-to-back. What do? You print the Witchwood set for Druid. I implore you guys to go look at the entire Witchwood set for Druid. It's really bad. There's only like 2 cards that have actually seen like real play from it, and one of them had to be buffed to see play, and that's Witchwood Apple. So we get Splinter Graft. 8 mana, 8/8. It wasn't undead at the time, because, you know, it's 2018. Battlecry, choose a friendly minion, add a 10/10 copy to your hand that costs 10. So you play an 8 mana, 8/8 to get a 10 mana, 10/10 in your hand of whatever minion. Does that sound good to you guys? Does spending 18 mana on 2 cards sound good to you guys? Because if it doesn't, you're really smart. Don't get me wrong, I understand why they would give Druid like a terrible card like Splinter Graft. Do not get me wrong, right? We just, like I said, we just had 2 back-to-back absurdly powerful expansions for Druid. You got like Jade, you had Jade Spellstone, you had Branching Paths, you had Hadronox, you had Malfurion of the Pestilence, you had Spreading Plague, you had like so many ultra powerful cards, especially for that era of Hearthstone. Ultra powerful, right? So Splinter Graft, like, being a terrible card, yeah, it makes sense. Druid needed to not have a good expansion. But holy shit, is it still a bad card? Like, it's so funny to me because, like, cards like Zola existed in the game. Zola's from, oh god, what expansion is Zola from? Is Zola from Kobolds and Catacombs? I don't remember what Zola's from. But Zola is 3 mana. Zola's a 3 mana, 3/3 Battlecry, add a golden copy of a minion to your hand. The golden's just like, you know, thematic. So that's a 3-drop. And this is an 8-drop that makes your minion cost 10 when it adds the copy to your hand. I mean, like, come on. Like, it's just intentionally terrible, this card, but it's still terrible. So it's fun to talk about. I don't know. Splinter Graft is kind of cool because, like, if the card didn't make it cost 10, if it just said add a 10/10 copy of the minion to your hand, right, and then didn't cost 10 but it had its original cost, that would be kind of cool, right? You could do some pretty cool stuff with that, but that's not how it is. Then for Hunter, we have Professor Putricide. So I'm going to be 100 with you. Usually when I do cards, right, I'll do a little bit of research to make sure I'm not, like, just completely wrong on something, right? But I have never once seen someone actually play Professor Putricide in a real game of Hearthstone. I did research to make sure I wasn't wrong on this. I looked up Secret Hunter lists from Kobolds and Catacombs, and god, Putricide is a terrible card. It's a 4 mana 5/4. It's an undead now. After you play a secret, put a random hunter secret into the battlefield. That on its own doesn't sound that bad, right? But let me let you in on a little secret about Hearthstone. You can only have a max of 5 secrets. That also includes auras, quests, objectives, stuff like that. Also go in the secret, like, area around your hero. So if you're already playing Secret Hunter and you're already running good secrets in your deck, and they all cost 0 because you're running Cloaked Huntress, which is 3 mana 3/4, how does Professor Putricide do anything? How does it do anything? Because you already are going to have a full Christmas tree of secrets, and then Putricide is also an additional 4 mana cost to make that even slightly happen. if you, like, didn't have enough secrets to do it on your own. You can only play 3 secrets, or I guess you can only technically play 2 secrets with Putricide, because that 3rd secret doesn't work on Putricide, because you're already going to be at 5. So Putricide is just actually useless. Like, I know that, like, people like to say, oh, you know, a card isn't completely useless because X, Y, and Z. But no, Putricide is actually fucking useless. Like, if anything, it might make you worse, because it could, if you're playing Putricide and you're trying to get a bunch of secrets out, it could cast the secrets you have in your hand so you can't play more secrets. What the fuck? Putricide is just really bad. It's just a truly terrible card. Then we have Mage. So Mage has Tathalon Bloodwatcher. 4 mana, 2/5 from Showdown the Badlands. Another card from that. Cards that didn't start in your deck cost 4 or less, but not less than 1. I would believe if you told me that you thought when this card first was revealed that it would see play, I could believe you, right? Because on paper, that's a disgusting effect. 4 mana to, or like, all of the cards that didn't start in your deck cost 4 less. So any spell you generate costs 4 less. Any card from your ETC costs 4 less. What else? I guess, like, I would say if you play, like, Potion of Madness, that also counts, but Potion of Madness, it makes them cost 1, and it's not less than 1, but whatever. So I would believe you if you thought this card would be good when it was first announced, right? But it just doesn't matter, ever. We're going into the final expansion in the Great Dark Beyond, and this card just doesn't do anything. It's not even the fact that but not less than 1 is on this card. It's kind of the fact that, like, generating spells that matter for this card doesn't happen. They just released the new 5 mana 5/5 Drain Eye. I don't remember what it's called. It has Battle Cry, discover a spell, reduce its cost by 1. If you've played it this turn, repeat this effect. And even that doesn't make Tathalon, like, a good card, right? It's so expensive to get going. Yes, you have the 5-drop that will refresh your mana. It's 5 mana, like 4 or 5, Battle Cry. Your next Drain Eye refreshes mana equal to its attack. So that 5-drop legendary would cost 0 technically. But, like, even with Tathalon, that's just not good. It's just so bad. The only real use Tathalon has ever had was in Quest Mage, before both the Quest was nerfed and Apprentice was nerfed. So what you would do is you would have Tathalon, you would have ETC and get Antonidas out of your ETC. You would play Tathalon, your Antonidas costs 4 less. Then you would do all the, you know, basic shenanigans of Quest Mage. You play a billion Apprentices, all that, and Tathalon. Actually, you wouldn't even have to play a billion Apprentices. You only need to play 1 Apprentice, because Tathalon would reduce the Fireball by 3, and then Apprentice would reduce that last one final cost of the Fireball. So then you could do that, right? And to call that good is an overstatement. It was not even really playable. Like, you could maybe have, like, I don't even know, like, maybe 50% win rate if you're, like, the best Quest Mage player ever, and you would, like, animation cheat and do all that kind of shit to make it as best as possible. It was just bad, right? It was just bad. But it was something you could do with this card. But it's really bad. Tathalon is, like, in theory, a really cool card. Like, it's so much mana cheat, right? So much. But it's specifically only cards that didn't start in your deck, right? So if they tried to make it work, it could, but it doesn't. This isn't, like, necessarily a part of the card, but the signature art for this card looks so fucking close to Signature Theldurin that, like, when I first pulled Signature Theldurin, I thought I accidentally pulled this card, and I was like, ugh. But no, I pulled Theldurin, so stay winning. Hunter main, stay winning. Theldurin's great card. Then we have Paladin and Dragon Rider Talritha. Talritha. 3 mana, 3/3. Death Rattle, give a dragon in your hand, +3/+3, and this Death Rattle. If you've been paying attention to Hearthstone in the last month, you know about a certain card that has come out. It's a pre-release card for the Great Dark Beyond, and it is Nexus Prince Shafar. 3 mana, 3/3, Spell Burst. Give a minion in your hand, +3/+3, and this Spell Burst. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize that next Prince Shafar just in every possible way outclasses this card. Not only is Spellburst better than Death Rattle, it gives it to any minion, not just a dragon. It's a neutral card, so, other classes can play it, but it doesn't require you to run dragons, which are not very good. Individual dragons have been good in Paladin, don't get me wrong, but a full dragon Paladin to make use of Talritha is not good. It's really terrible. So, Talritha was already bad for years, right? Because it came out in 2019 in Descent of Dragons, right? And it was already a terrible card. But Nexus Prince Shafar coming out 5 years later, that's so funny that they power crept this card with an actually good card, because Nexus Prince Shafar sees play in a lot of decks. It's really good in Rogue right now in Standard. In Wild, it's good in Rogue and in Hunter. Honestly, this card, Shafar could probably be pretty good in Handbuff Paladin and Standard, but I've never seen people run it. Maybe, maybe not, maybe, I don't really know for sure if that's true, but it seems like a pretty decent card. It's overall just a really strong card, and it's mainly good in classes like Rogue and Hunter that have easy ways to duplicate their minions, right? Wolpertinger is a 1-mana 1/1 with Battlecry, summon a copy. Then, Rogue has Bargain Bin Buccaneer, which is 3-mana 3/3. Or is 3-mana 3/2 with Rush and then combo summon a copy, right? So you're able to duplicate the Spellburst to get even larger minions in your hand. And then you do that onto another card that copies itself. And then another, and then another, and then it gets out of control, right? And that's why Shafar is a really fun card, and people actually really like it. It's one of my favorite cards to come out in a long time, especially of a free legendary, because yes, it's good, but it's not like meta warping, disgusting, every single deck has to play it no matter what, like a lot of other cards. Marin the Manager, Marin. Yeah, I don't know. I like Shafar. Talritha, terrible card. I mean, like, I'm sitting here listing all the great parts about Shafar, and then Talritha can't do any of them. There's no dragons that duplicate themselves. Right? No, wait. Aha! There's Bronze Dragonkin from Caverns of Time. 4-mana 3/5, Battlecry if this has, or Anton, Battlecry if this has 5 or more attacks, summon a copy. Wow, yeah! Oh yeah, you can duplicate Talritha's effect! It's terrible. It's still obviously unplayable. Then we have Priest. Okay, yes. When Varia came out in, like, I think it's called Shadow of Ulduar, Fall of Ulduar, or whatever, the Titans mini set, it was actually pretty good. It was. However, that was, like, a month. And then it was terrible again in Standard. And then once, March of the Lich King rotated out, and all of the Undead Priests rotated out, then Varia was also terrible. It's Soulburner Varia, 3-mana 1/5 Undead. After a friendly Undead dies, deal 2 damage to the enemy hero and get a random Shadow Priest spell. So, yes, it was kind of good for like a month. But then after that, once Showdown in the Badlands rolled around, then Varia was just terrible again. So, I feel like it's fine for me to hate on this card. Let's be honest here. A card being good for like a month and then completely unplayable for its entire rest of its existence ever, yeah, I can hate on the card a little bit. It's completely unplayable in Wild, even in Shadow Priest. Undead Priest is really bad in Wild. Undead Priest doesn't exist in Standard since March of the Lich King rotated, and Varia has been completely unplayable in Standard since rotation. Like, yeah, it's actually a really cool concept, right? I like Varia. It gives you a lot of value for your Undead Priest. It lets you do a bunch of cycling damage, right? You bump off your Undeads. It's a cool card. It's just terrible. It's just so bad. Like, even in Showdown in the Badlands, when March of the Lich King card still existed, this wasn't seeing play. So, what does that really say about this card, right? That one expansion later, it's just not playable anymore? Yeah, Varia is so bad. Then we have Rogue. Alright, I know I just did the Varia thing, but I had to do that so I could go into this card, right? Because Varia was a little playable, but this card was actually really good. Maestra of the Masquerade. 2 mana, 3/2, You start the game as a different class until you play a rogue card. Reminder, this also didn't get triggered by tradable effects, so you would always play oh god, what's it called? It's the 1 mana 2/2 weapon with tradable, and then after you trade it, a spell in your hand costs 1 less. I don't remember what it's called off the top of my head. Blackwater Cutlass, I think. Anyway, so Maestra was a really strong card for a good amount of time because of Wild Paw Null specifically. Entirely because of Wild Paw Null. Wild Paw Null used to count your own. It was just whenever, I forget what the exact wording was, but it was like whenever you add a card to your hand from another class, and because you were technically that other class until you played a rogue card, even through discover effects. So if you had like a neutral discover card, you would still discover cards from that class. So every time you drew a rogue card, it would discount your Wild Paw Null. That meant that so by like turn 2 or 3, you'd be able to play Wild Paw Nulls. They then nerfed that, and then Maestra went from being really strong to completely unplayable. Like, completely unplayable. There's no point to play this card. Even if you're just trying to have fun, it's kind of like a waste of a card slot. It's a river croc at best. It doesn't do anything worthwhile, and it's entirely because of the Wild Paw Null nerf. They obviously designed this card with Wild Paw Null in mind, right? Otherwise, you know, why would they have made it? It's a cool effect, don't get me wrong, but like, it's a 1600 dust Bloodfen Raptor that doesn't even have a tribe. So, yeah. Like I'm saying, right? It was a good card, but Wild Paw Null is never getting reverted. In fact, it was already nerfed again because it was too strong. So, Maestra, for now until the end of fucking time, until they delete the Hearthstone servers in like 5 years from now. Obviously, they probably won't, but it's funny. Until, you know, they eventually delete the Hearthstone servers like a billion years from now, right? Maestra's just going to be a terrible card. Unless they print some kind of way to synergize with it again. But they're likely never going to do that again because, well, it was broken. It wasn't balanced. You couldn't balance that effect. And every time they tried to, it just wouldn't work. So, yeah, Maestra is just... Yes, like, yeah, okay, it was good for a short amount of time, but it's just not anymore, and it doesn't work anymore, so it's a bad card. Then for Shaman, we have Brucon. 4 mana, 5/4, from Forge of the Barrens, nature spell damage, +3. So, this card was experimented with a lot, and I mean a lot, because, well... Can you blame people for wanting to try a card that says spell damage +3? The issue is that Brucon sucks. Brucon is a really bad card. It's super expensive. There's no way to discount it. This was before cards like Flash of Lightning even existed, so like your nature spells being discounted was way too hard. The main decks that tried to make it work were like Even Shaman, because Even Shaman runs things like Crackle and oh god, what else did you run with this at the time? I don't even remember what you would run. It was mainly just Crackle, because Crackle's a nature spell. It does 4 to... What is it? 3, 4, 5, 6? Right? It's 3, 4, 5, 6, if I remember correctly. I haven't looked at Crackle in a long time. Doesn't even see play anymore. But it was a nature spell, right? So Brucon would be able to make it deal more damage. The issue is that, like, as people tried that more and more and more... it became more and more apparent that that kind of sucks, and it wasn't that good. If you wanted to do more damage, you would just play more spells that deal damage. Why do you need to play Brucon? It's 4 mana, right? If you're playing Brucon, and you play 2 spells that cost 2 mana, that's 8 mana to get +3 damage from Brucon. Right? So 6 damage for 8 mana, just because of Brucon. Or, you could just run 2 spells that deal 3 damage anyway, and, well, for the same mana cost, it does the same amount of damage. Yeah. It makes a lot of sense when you actually put the numbers together why Brucon is just a bad card. Like I said, Flash of Lightning didn't exist when this card first came out. And even if it did, I doubt you would run Brucon. Maybe you would, right? In Standard, maybe, but in Wild, you obviously wouldn't. You just play, like, Bioluminescence, because Bioluminescence is... 4 mana, was 3 mana, but, you know, Flash of Lightning got it nerfed. Give all your minions +1 spell damage. So you'd much rather just play that over Brucon because, well, it's a lot easier to discount spells than it is to discount Tribeless minions. What a card, Brucon. Then we have Warlock. So for Warlock, I'm talking about Niru Fireblade. This is also from Forge in the Barrens. What a fucking card. So Niru is a 5-mana 5/5 with Battlecry. If your deck is empty, open a portal that fills your board of 3/2 imps each turn. I'm going to give you a minute. I'm going to give you guys a minute to really soak in this card. Okay, that's enough time. Yeah, it was obviously terrible. Your deck has to be empty, which, yeah, they gave synergy cards for it in Forge of the Barrens, right? There's the 6-mana 6/6 taunt that has, like, costs 1 if you have 10 or less cards in your deck. You have Blood Shard Bristleback, I think it's called. God, I'm so bad at card names sometimes. It's a 3-mana 3/3 with Lifesteal and Battlecry. If your deck has 10 or less cards, deal 6 damage to a minion. And, like, those were good cards. Those cards saw play in Questline Warlock. Wait a minute, you might be saying. Questline Warlock? Yeah, if you're going to fatigue, playing the Questline is great. You know what's not great? Playing a 5-mana 5/5 that fills your board with shit. With actual shit. Like, that's all it did. It would summon, a bunch of 3/2s that did nothing. It would put a portal in your board that takes up a board slot. And then, it still sucked. It still just did nothing. Niru is the second attempt by Blizzard to make this, like, imp spawning portal work. And it's the second failure. It's surprisingly the last failure, which is really funny because Sargeras was a really good card. Sargeras is the Warlock Titan. It's 9 mana. Oh god, I remember. Whatever. It would summon a portal, and then the portal would either destroy all minions, give all demons that came out of the portal for the rest of the game +2 health and taunt, or it would summon 2 6/6s. And then at the end of every turn, it would summon 2 3/2 imps. So you would summon 2 3/4 imps with taunt, which is significantly better. Sargeras would be a good card if it weren't for the fact that, one, it got, it was a good card, right? Because it got Symphony of Sins nerfed, because what you would do is you would run not that many minions, and then Symphony of Sins would just, like, always draw Sargeras. I think it was how it worked. It would draw your highest cost minion or something like that, right? So you wouldn't run anything more expensive than Sargeras, and then you would get Sargeras out on, like, turn 6, and it was really good. But then they nerfed that. They introduced Reno Lone Ranger. Reno Lone Ranger destroys the Sargeras portal, and then, well, that's the end of that. Sargeras had a really good stint for, like, 2 weeks, and then was just fucking... So... why, Blizzard? Why would you make one of, if not the most important characters in all of Warcraft? Sargeras. Sargeras created the Burning Legion. The Burning Legion then started, like, attacking the Draenei and forced the Draenei to, like, escape to Draenor. Then, on Draenor, the Burning Legion finds the Orcs. And, the Orcs then, massacre the Draenei. And after, like, drinking demon blood. And after they do that, they go to Azeroth and they cause the first war. And then, all of Warcraft happens because of that. Because of Sargeras. Sargeras is the most fucking important character in Warcraft. Like, he is the driving force of the entire story, is because of Sargeras. And they do that to him. Niru is a dog shit card, so I don't really have much to say about it. It's just unplayable. But so I kind of went on a rant about Sargeras. I'm sorry, but why the fuck would they do that? Why can Reno destroy Sargeras portal? Like, it just makes the card unplayable. It's so sad. Anyway, let's go into Warrior and fucking Sugma the Sugmerer. Sug my fucking balls, dude. Sugma. Slagmaw the Slumbering. 4 mana, 16/16 elemental beast with Rush, Taunt, Dormant for 6 turns, Excavate to awaken 2 turns sooner. The Excavate package in Warrior was actually really good. The Excavate reward in Azurite Ox would, it was a 4 mana 5/5 that would summon 2 8-drops, and that's pretty strong, right? Especially for Excavate, it's not that hard to get. It was a battle cry, so Deep Miner Bran would double up on it, and the X-Ray package is pretty good. Slagmaw, Sugma fucking Balls Maw, is a terrible card. cards like Sugma and the new card Gorm, the World Eater, which is a 3-mana 12/12 beast with dormant for 5 turns. At the end of your turn, destroy a minion to its right to awaken 1 turn sooner or whatever. Cards like that are just fucking terrible. They've been terrible. They will be terrible. It's just like a big fuck you amount of stats after being dormant for a billion turns is useless. Every card that has been like this has been bad. You have Big Dreams in Hunter, which is a 5-mana spell that summons your highest cost beast, or it might be just any beast, actually, from your hand, and then it's dormant for 2 turns. That card sucks. It's 5 mana, do nothing for 2 turns. Sugma is 4 mana, do nothing for like 3 turns on average. Gorm is 3 mana, 12/12, do nothing for 3 turns on average. And the thing is that even when something like Gorm comes out, it doesn't do anything on board. Sugma at least has Taunt and Rush. Still sucks ass, but at least it has that. It really sucks because when this card came out, there was an event that like everyone who bought the Mega Bundle got its signature art, and it looks beautiful. It's a beautiful signature art, right? But Sugma Balls is a terrible fucking card. Unplayable terrible card. And like, why? This whole video is just me talking about cards that are like really bad, and it's like, why? Why do cards have to be so bad that that you can make a full video on it and still be able to make more videos on really bad cards? Because it's one thing to talk about cards that are like kind of good, right? It's one thing to talk about cards that are kind of good. It's another thing to talk about cards that are just unplayable, right? And that's what fucking Sugma Balls the Slumbering is. Unplayable. Usually I don't do neutral when I do these kinds of videos, but I have to talk about these 2 cards. Both of them are introducing Caverns of Time. Both of them are fucking terrible. We have Sori Dormi, 5 mana 8/8 dragon, dormant for 2 turns. Oh boy. Yeah, I obviously, you know, Slagmaw was supposed to like transition into this kinda, you know, they're kinda related, right? Dormant for 2 turns, a bunch of stats, really bad. And then when this awakens, reduce the cost of all dragons in your hand by 4. So, Dragon Priest, when Whizbang's Workshop came out, was really strong. Like, really, really strong. So strong, in fact, that it got nerfed. And this Sori Dormi card couldn't even make the cut in a Dragon Priest that was so strong that it got fucking nerfed within 2 weeks. That's how bad Sori Dormi is. God, dude. It's just, like, come on. Like, what are these supposed to do? Whatever was this card supposed to do? It's completely fucking useless in Twist. Like, completely, utterly useless in Twist. It's obviously terrible and too slow for Wild. And it's like, what was the point of this card? Then there's Volstan Staghelm. 6 mana, 3/6. Death Rattle, summon a taunt minion from your deck. So Volstan doesn't have taunt on its own, which would help significantly. I get the idea behind this card, right? It specifies taunt minions, so, like, maybe there's going to be a combo with it down the line. Maybe you could push its Death Rattle onto another minion with, like, Demon Hunter or Hunter. They can do that, right? But that never came to fruition. Volstan was completely and utterly worthless in Twist. It's terrible in Wild. It's just like, what was the point of these 2 legendaries? What is the point of cards that are just so useless that they don't even have, like, any function, right? Because, like I said, cards can be bad, right? Cards can be bad, they can be too expensive, they can have too little stats, right? But at least they can be like, oh, this is what the idea behind it was, right? These 2 cards, what was the idea behind them? Truly, whatever were you supposed to do with these cards? Like, there's no effect that ever would have made sense with these. Like, any kind of deck never would have made sense with these, because not only are they terrible, but they don't have, like, clear, concise reasons to be played and to exist. I don't know. Like, I get I'm rambling about these cards, but it just doesn't make sense to me. Why do they print cards that don't do anything? Because, again, it's one thing to be a weak card. It's another thing to be a card that doesn't do anything. And that's what these cards do. Nothing. But yeah, that's gonna be it for me. If you guys enjoyed, make sure... Oh god. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me anything down below. How many useless cards can you name in Hearthstone? Can you name every single terrible, bad Hearthstone card? Obviously not, right? I can't even name cards that saw play, and that's really funny. But, like, what? Like, come on, dude. What? Like, genuinely, what is the point behind some of these cards? Like, what were they ever supposed to do? I don't get it. But yeah, I have 2 giveaways going on for the Great Dark Beyond. One, all you have to do is like the video, subscribe to my channel, and comment down below any video with a giveaway on it. Just your favorite card that's been revealed so far. I'm picking it on November 1st, just, you know, because of how gifting works in Blizzard client. You need like 3 days to be friends with someone, right? So the expansion comes out on the 5th, etc. And I have another one for members. And, you know, I've gotten a couple members lately. So thank you to everyone who's joined recently, or anyone who's still a member, or anyone who's a member in the past for my past giveaways. It means a lot. You know, I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it because, well, I like having a community. As you can see on there, there's ones called Flare Punch and Solar Flares. Flare Punch is 99 cents, so I put it as low as it could possibly go. It gives you access to emotes. It's like a Twitch subscription, and you get a role in my channel if you, like, want it. I mean, whatever. And it's just, like, a nice thing for me to be able to give back to my community. That's why I like to do the member giveaway, even if it's not really like I'm getting money from it, right? It's just fun. It's a little bit of kickback, right, for anyone who does, so it does feel real nice. But yeah, thank you to everyone who has ever done it, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.
Shadows are rising again!
Darker than they've ever been. As evil descends from the skies, the world cries out, how will we survive? Out of the hall of explorers, and up from the dusty tombs, they grab their whips and fedoras. These legends are the